Donald Trump knows how weak he is. He sees the walls closing in, the courts are finally pushing back, and the Democratic Party is gaining momentum with grassroots support across the country. And how does he respond? The only way he knows how, by threatening members of Congress. His latest target, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. And why? Because she dared to call for protests against Elon Musk. You'd think the so-called First Amendment president would understand free speech, but of course he doesn't. And when Jasmine Crockett fired back, oh boy, did it send Trump into a tailspin. We're gonna break it all down, but before we do, if you're enjoying this content, take a second to hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe. It really helps and means a lot. Now, let's hear how Jasmine Crockett responded to Trump's AG threat. And trust me, you don't want to miss this.
Today, a direct message from Attorney General Pam Bondi to a sitting member of Congress for comments about Elon Musk. Let's take a listen.
Now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday. Let's take him out on my birthday, she says. And yet she turns and says, oh, I'm not calling for violence. Well, she is an elected public official. And so she needs to tread very carefully because nothing will happen to Elon Musk. And we're going to fight to protect all of the Tesla owners throughout this country, and it's just basic safety.
Joining me now is Texas Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, vice-ranking member on the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform and ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. Congresswoman, pardon me. It's always good to see you, my friend. And I'm going to say, I was looking at you on the monitor while you were listening to Pam Bondi. You seem to be not fazed at all. The Attorney General there, though, is telling you to tread carefully. I'm curious your response, and have some of these protests at Tesla dealerships gone too far?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to say that I participated in a Tesla takedown. That is the name of the website. And it was all about this large protest that they're calling for. And this is a nonviolent protest that they're calling for. And in fact, when I was on there, which is why the Attorney General had to say that I wasn't calling for violence, and it's ridiculous that I even have to say something like that. But because they are trying to twist our words, one of the things that I told people to do is make sure you are adhering to the laws in your area. Make sure you know what it looks like to protest and to be able to raise your voices and to exercise your constitutional right to free speech. And what we see is that they want to dull our free speech rights.
What we see here is a clear attempt to silence free speech. They want to control the press, to force media organizations into submission, to make them spread lies instead of reporting the truth. And let's be real, Elon Musk's empire, Tesla, it's sinking, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Now for the slow ones out there who might want to twist my words, let me make this crystal clear. I have never promoted violence, but I also refuse to make excuses for violent actors, like the ones who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. So Pam Bondi, if you're so concerned about terrorism, maybe you should start by asking your boss why he let those insurrectionists walk free. And when you tell me to tread carefully, what does that even mean? A threat? Because if it is, well, I have news for you. I don't back down. And there you have it. Jasmine Crockett, unfiltered and unapologetic, calling out the hypocrisy. But the question now is, how will Trump and his allies respond next? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's talk about it. They want me to be scared. They want me to stay silent, but let me make one thing clear. I won't. Because here's the reality. These people are willing to break the law, and they do it openly. We've seen it time and time again, ignoring court orders, dismissing our own laws, and running a completely rogue administration. And let me be clear, this isn't about partisanship anymore. I keep telling people, this is good versus evil, right versus wrong. And right now, when the law is staring them in the face and they choose to ignore it, that's wrong, plain and simple. And who are they targeting? Anyone who dares to challenge them, judges who uphold the law, lawyers who represent their clients fairly, and most of them, by the way, won against Trump and his administration. This is about silencing dissent. They don't want accountability, they want control. And speaking of right versus wrong, we just got our hands on a new memo from the Trump administration, and trust me, this is wild. This memo orders the Justice and Homeland Security departments to go after attorneys and law firms that challenge them in court. They're weaponizing the system. And get this, the memo even uses the term vexatious litigation. I mean, when's the last time you heard someone say vexatious? But hey, if their goal is to shut people up, they're gonna have to try a lot harder, because we're not going anywhere. So let's break this down. This Trump memo, it's targeting lawyers who challenge him in court or go up against federal agencies.
They are ignoring what our own laws are. When we look at things such as impoundment, things like that, this entire administration is rogue.
But legally speaking, does this hold any weight? Because for those watching, you are a trained lawyer. What's your take? Can Trump actually do this? Look, Trump can write all the memos he wants. A memo is just that, a memo. It's not law. But here's the problem. They're trying to weaponize the Department of Justice, pushing their own version of justice that ignores the actual law. We already have legal provisions that define what counts as a frivolous lawsuit. We already have rules in place for sanctions. That's standard. Trust me, I've had my fair share of ridiculous lawsuits thrown at me, so I get it. But at the end of the day, it's up to the judge, not Trump. And let's be real, the Trump administration is losing badly. There are over 100 cases happening right now, and people like Attorney General Letitia James in New York, she's winning. So what does Trump do? He retaliates, tries to strip her security clearance. Same thing with Alvin Bragg. Bragg had the courage to take Trump to trial, and guess what? Trump is now a convicted felon on 34 felony counts. Not because of some political conspiracy, but because a jury found him guilty. And let's not forget, Trump had every chance to hire good lawyers. Instead, he stuck with the same losing team, lawyers who keep getting disbarred. Oh, and speaking of that, Google Rudy Giuliani. He lost his law license. He lost all his money. Meanwhile, I still have all my bar cards intact. Just putting that out there. Now, if they want to keep going down this road, well, let's just say the legal system isn't looking too kind to them right now. And there it is. A memo won't save Trump from the reality he's facing. But the question is, what will he try next? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. I want to take a moment to acknowledge something important. There are lawyers within the Department of Justice who still respect their oath. They've said, I will not violate the law. I will not betray my profession. And because of that, they've chosen to leave rather than be part of this administration's rogue tactics. But the real question is, how many DOJ lawyers will keep their bar cards if they continue ignoring judges and bending the law for political gain? Now, let's shift to something else, because this next move is truly unbelievable. The New York Times is reporting that the IRS, yes, the IRS, is preparing to partner with ICE to locate and deport undocumented immigrants. And how? By handing over their home addresses these individuals provided while paying taxes. Think about that. These are people who have been told, even if you're undocumented, you must pay taxes. And they do. Up to $100 billion a year in tax revenue comes from undocumented workers. And now, the same government that collected their money is turning around and saying, thanks for paying. Now here's ICE at your doorstep. You cannot make this up. And what happens next? People stop reporting their addresses. They stop paying taxes. They disappear into the shadows. And guess what? That means less money for infrastructure, schools, healthcare, everything their taxes were helping fund. This isn't just immoral, it's self-destructive. So let's talk about it. What's really driving this? Is it about law and order, or is it about pushing an agenda at any cost? Drop a comment below and let's get into it. Let's get real. This administration has zero intention of going to their billionaire friends to make up for lost tax revenue. Instead, they're targeting undocumented workers, the very people who pay into Social Security but never collect from it. This isn't just incompetence, it's deliberate. And speaking of hypocrisy, let's talk about Tesla, Elon Musk, and Republican outrage. We've seen the protests, the Tesla boycotts, the fiery rhetoric, and sure, it's not great if people are lighting Teslas on fire. But honestly, can we even confirm that? They tend to blow up on their own. Not funny if people get hurt, of course.
And reiterate, I draw the line at arson. No one should be setting cars on fire. But I would argue, no, this is an important point. It's a free market point, but also we talked about Dylan Mulvaney, a single trans influencer who was on a...
But here's what is ridiculous. The same people protesting Bud Light, Snow White, and books, yes, books, are suddenly outraged about protests against Elon Musk. And why are people protesting Elon Musk? Because the richest man in the world wants to buy the government and rig the system to funnel even more billions into his companies. And we're just supposed to ignore that. Jessica Tarlov nailed it when she pointed this out. Republicans are still furious that a trans woman drank a beer. Yes, a beer. That led them to boycott, burn, and attack Bud Light drinkers, even though it was their favorite beer for years. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is actively destroying lives, stripping away Medicaid, Social Security, and essential protections just to make himself richer and play pretend president. Yet somehow these two things are the same to them. Here's the truth: returning Teslas, refusing to buy them, and calling out Elon Musk is a justified response. Of course, Republicans will never get it, so we'll keep calling them out. If you support that, hit subscribe, leave a like, and if you've stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged.